a very interesting talk, hopefully. A conversation, in fact, modelled on the format that Shirley and I tried last month. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you again for doing that. It was great. The feedback's been amazing. So Gary is going to tell us some wisdom about getting out of a creative business, my gosh, and what comes with it and what goes after that. And John's going to show us his amazing work, so really excited about all of that. But before we get started, I just wanted to check, is everybody okay with photos and filming? If you do have any problems with it, please do put a hand up and we'll make sure that we don't film in your direction. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we are going to start off with a quick intro. There we are, Shirley doing her wonderful talk last month. I kind of got into a customary format now. This is what it looked like last month. This is what we're building upon. So, Arcade Lounge in Littlehampton, this venue, quite different. And next month we're going to be back in Bognor Regis at Bonito Lounge. Anybody know it? On the high street. Yeah. Food's really good. We've got one really similar in Brighton called El Campo Lounge. There's one in Hove as well. So they're a chain that just do really nice food. And they're very friendly, and so we'll be there at lunchtime. Tell you more about that in a bit. And so the running order is, John's going to come up and show us his amazing work shortly, and after John, Gary and I are going to have a conversation here, and that will go for about half an hour or so, and there'll be an opportunity to ask questions and also to talk to Gary afterwards if there's anything that you want to follow up on. And then I only have one announcement, so we'll come to that later on. And that's pretty much it. So we'll be kind of wrapped up with all the formal presentation type stuff by about 7:15, and that leaves us 45 minutes to sample the fine wines of our amazing hosts. So yeah, there'll be some wine out for tasting at the end. So that's pretty much it. So again, thank you for coming, and John. Is that okay? As a
that's it.
That's yes. Yeah. Just making sure I've got the right job.
I never use Instagram, so I'm like, is that right?
Right. I'm just going to cue your presentation. Okay. Starting at the beginning with
don't look at the last.
Sorry.
I put a timer on so I wouldn't start waffling. It's not ticking down, which is interesting, but hopefully we'll transition. So yeah, I'm a freelance designer. I've been freelancing for about 5 years now, pretty much exactly 5 years. A designer since 2001, living in West Sussex for about 20 years. Originally from Carshalton, London Borough of Sutton, made famous by Phone Shop, of course. Being a London Borough, you do the 11 plus, which I failed. It's kind of like a socio-economic sorting hat that just sends kids like me to a comprehensive school, which was interesting. And one of the things we had was a careers talk from an industrial designer who brought in lots of fantastic, standing in front of stuff, but studio marker renderings, not these exact ones, but this kind of corresponds with what I remember from the time, things like this, models and stuff like that. And as a kid who loved drawing and making models, I was like, wow, you can do this for a job. So I kind of decided then that I wanted to do industrial design. So the kind of upshot of that was stop mucking around past GCSEs and go to a sixth form college, which I did. And the tutor at sixth form, his son was studying at Brunel University, which is here, which was a fantastic course, really great. So everything from all the kind of fluffy, creative end of industrial design through to learning how to weld and program microchips. We were talking earlier about doing Pascal programming and stuff like that. Really, really excellent course. And as part of that, we did placements as well, it says. So yeah, I took a year out and I worked for Hasbro. So this was the first thing I ever designed that went into the shops. So I was very proud to see this in my local Woolworths, the Action Man Extreme Raft. Yeah, working for Hasbro for a year on Action Man stuff, so that was good fun. Yeah, got to test loads of stuff. Hasbro games were part of it, so they give you a PlayStation, you can test things. And then after university, I got an industrial design job like I'd always dreamed of, which was working for a company who refurbished aircraft seats. So this is a Gulf Air project, so things would kind of land for a certain period of time, and you'd get in and create new mouldings, new seat covers, that kind of thing. And then after that I moved down to West Sussex, and this just kind of represents the sort of blurring of the lines between doing conventional kind of 3D design and then moving more into sort of illustration and packaging and instructions and that kind of thing. So I worked for Carte Blanche Greetings, Little Experience. I then did a bit of time designing furniture again, before ending up at Temple Spa, which is another sort of pivotal bit of experience. By this time I kind of firmly established into packaging and point of sale and things like that. So yeah, this was kind of typical, like a dual branded project with Orient Express. So they provide the kind of toiletries and stuff like that. And then it culminated in a brand refresh. So incredibly, they used to package all their stuff in plastic boxes, which just seems mad. Oh.
Interesting slide.
No heteros, but technology let me down. Okay, yeah, so this was kind of like, well, that was the culmination of my experience there, was that brand refresh, and I went to work for Ultimate Sports Engineering. I love mountain biking, so this was a sort of dream job for me. I was there for 4 years, which is the longest I've worked for anyone apart from myself. So yeah, that was a great experience. Got to test all the lights and new cycling components and stuff out on the downs. I decided I was going to go freelance, and my preparation for that was basically listen to hours and hours of the Being Freelance podcast, which Steve on the left does. I highly recommend it. It's a brilliant resource for freelancers, and this is us out on a networking event, walking from Lewes to Brighton this summer. So there's an online community as well as a website. And then, bizarrely, this was my first ever freelance client. It was a bike shop in Brazil, so I started to put together a website and put up some of my cycling industry experience and that kind of thing. And somebody from Brazil must have been Googling cycling kit design. And I got an email while I was working my notice saying, would you like to design some cycling kit for us? So I was like, oh, this is going to be really easy. Because, it was just before COVID that I decided to freelance, so it wasn't and then started to kind of diversify. So this was a project working with a marketing agency down in the southwest who did lots of food and beverage and that kind of thing. So I've done a lot of toys and games and beauty products and things like that. And then this is a bit of a snapshot of some early clients, lots of startups and small brands. There's a few horror stories behind some of these glamorous images. As all freelancers, you have to kind of go through those little baptisms of fires and things. But yeah, so then I started working with a company called Pangolin PR in London. They have loads of great clients, and they basically come to me with a brief. It's always really short turnaround, so you get 48 hours to work on something because they decided to pitch something. You've got an opportunity to talk to someone about something. So this was an event for Beefeater at the Tower of London. And then another thing, this is for Pepsi, so this is kind of like a sort of storyboard, really, a bit of a comp of 3D and 2D elements just to show Pepsi this event. So the idea was you'd recycle a bottle or a can, the machine will spit out a ball, you can play 5 aside, or 3 aside I think it was, and it just kind of illustrates that event to them. And then a similar thing for Spirit of London, so Rachel Joy, type designer, created this typeface, and then I made a 3D model of that and put it in different places in London so the client can have a look at that and decide where they want to pick, whether they want to feature it, and helping out with the poster designs and things like that. And then I just put in a very recent project, so this was for Red Dragon, who were part of Wimborne. If this wasn't such a posh place and there was a dartboard, that would probably have been made by Wimborne. And yeah, just working on some dart designs and packaging for them. And that job I found through LinkedIn, which has become kind of like the main place now. So I'm going to be on the Flourish and Thrive program in January, and and I tend to be quite sort of kind of proactive rather than marketing. I'll search things out that I think are relevant and then just pitch to somebody and say I can do that for you. So, but I tend to use LinkedIn a lot for that. I'm not from London anymore, as it says on there. But I've had to put it on there because recruiters will just decide I can't take a train for a week up to a studio. So if you just put London down, they never ask that question, so it's fine. So yeah, please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. Very easy to find, unusual surname, Asbridge, or use the QR code if you want to connect. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Amazing journey, fantastic work. And Brunel, delighted that Brunel's in the mix.
Yeah. Sadly not a campus anymore.
So
No.
it is now part of University of London as well. Oh, should put on there. Fold it into it. But anyways, the connections with Brunel, tell you about another time. But the
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
please do. Throw a question.
You said that you tend to seek things out.
Yes.
And is that, do you mean like you look for things you think, oh, that could be better, and you just like out of the blue approach people, or are you looking for like large groups or?
More specific posts. So if someone's posted something,
Yeah.
then I'll kind of say, right, so that Wimborne job was, we would like freelance designers to get in touch about
Right.
some premium packaging for darts and things like that. So I kind of, I spend quite a lot of time looking for that sort of stuff
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. You can make LinkedIn much less painful by switching your feed to only showing the latest posts. It gives you all that rubbish about how AI is going to take your job and all that. Just tedious posts. You can turn all of that off. If you forget how to, just send me a message and I'll tell you how to do it, because it makes it so much better to go on the platform when it's not just a depressing feed of nonsense saying you need to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and, but yeah, once you've got past that, it's a much better platform. You can use it, So I've got certain things, spend about half an hour every day, like search terms, I just look for things, and then just get in touch with people. That's yeah. Which is
Brilliant.
easier than uploading loads of content to Instagram. It's just, it doesn't last long enough. If you're a solo business, you've only got so much content and you can only recycle it so many times, so you've got to be a bit more proactive.
An interesting point you made about London on the address.
Yeah.
And that's very
I had a recruiter the other day who'd obviously been on Google Maps or something, so it's going to take you an hour and 40 minutes to get to our studio. I was like, for a week, it's fine, I'll cope. So I was like, I'll just be London. It's fine, because I know it well enough if someone talks to me about London. I love going into London. I've got a lot of clients in London, and any chance I get, I'll go back. I love being by the sea and the downs and everything else, but getting to town is decent.
Any other questions for John? Okay. Gary, shall we chat? Thank you very much. We're going to be here until the end of the evening, so if anybody does want to chat, if something percolates and you want to pick John's brains, then feel free. Thank you. So, right, whilst I wrestle with the technology, apologies.
Waste through the chat because she's got a whole load of flirting and I think she must have forgotten. No, because I saw her on.
You're pretty on track, though. You're far away. You wanted to talk a bit more, right?
So, Gary, thank you so much for joining us. So, it was a bit of an experiment last month to kind of do more of an interview style, largely because Shirley really helped us out by joining last minute when the speaker had lined up. Unfortunately, was ill, couldn't make it. So I thought it actually worked quite well, and a lot of people said afterwards, "That's great. Can you do that again?" So here we are, replicating the format.
And because I didn't want to do a presentation. That's true.
And also, listening to the network. So I'm going to ask Gary some questions about his journey, and there'll be, if we can just work through the questions, maybe you could wait till the end to put questions, if that's okay. And then, Gary's going to be here until the end as well, so anything else you want to ask, feel free. Yeah, okay. So, first question is about the business that you sold, you'll come to, right? But let's ask you a little bit about what happened before you created this business that you ended up selling. So what did you do before you created this software business?
Well, obviously I'm not 25 anymore, so I've done quite a few things in my life. I did I had an IT background, as in I did an IT degree, not computer science, and then I fell into a photography job. So many things I've done. I've been through a few IT jobs and fell into becoming a photographer for 12 years. So that's kind of a hobby that turned into something that I was in for far too long and I wanted to get out. So I get itchy feet. So I don't know if what many people in the room are like, but I want to try different things and I get bored. So when you feel trapped in things, you're sort of stuck. And wedding photography, everyone's booking 18 months in advance, so your sort of life's mapped out to you. Anyway, got out of that, started another business as a ski rental listing website, random. I know, I bought a good domain name, thought that would be good, I'll start a business. Didn't work out quite that good, but we got some money back, not all the money that was put in, but we got a little bit of money back, and that was the journey. Along some other businesses, helping my wife with a marketing agency and a giftware business importing products from China. So I've tried a few things, experienced, know what sort of what works and what doesn't to a certain degree. But you stumble into your journey, and then I finished the ski rental, we sold it, and then 3 weeks later sort of another idea came around, and I told someone on a golf course and they said, let's start it. My business partner, let's do it. And I was like, I don't want to do it. So you end up anyway doing it and roll on. 6 years later, you're thinking about selling it. So that's sort of how you stumble into something. And that's the start of sort of Schools Buddy in 2013. But it wasn't actually called Schools Buddy, it was called Subs Buddy. So it wasn't even a school product. So can I go into that? Or?
Yeah, tell us a bit about Schools Buddy. So what market was it? Who's the customer? What did you actually sell?
So we tried to set up a sports team mobile app called Subs Buddy, because we both love playing sport and there was so many problems with organising it and getting the fees out of people and all that. Before there was many around, to be honest, and then it took us so long with one developer part-time to sort of build anything that we sort of went, oh my god, there's about 6 or 7 apps now that do this. How are we going to make any money? We're not. Yeah. So then we showed it to a school and they said, this is perfect. So it didn't, when I say this is perfect, it took another 2.5 years to have a product that was ready. So 3 years of no pay, raising money, trying to get investors to commit, friends that we knew, paid developers, build something. That's kind of how it got to. And then you get to a point where some schools want it, and we're talking 2 schools, and then schools cycle is another year. So we went 2 schools, 13 schools, and then something like 30 schools, and then 90 schools. So it sort of takes a long time, and feeling trapped is something you do without, we're not making any money, we're not getting paid. How's this gonna go good? So there's kind of a lot of persistence, and the pivoting was all part of the process, and you need a lot of belief, and two of you doing it was really helpful. So if you're on your own and you feel pain, I can imagine that's really tough. If there's 2 of you can obviously bounce off each other's low points, and then you sort of dig each other out of the hole, and then you're back up running, and then the school sale comes in and you get all excited again. So that's how sort of the business built. In terms of customers, we got very lucky with bumping into someone. So in terms of right place, right time, right place, bumped into an old cricket colleague that was walking across a park that moved from Somerset to, he was living in Malaysia, was come to visit his parents in Worthing, where they'd moved from Somerset, and I bumped into him and said, oh, you still running a Malaysian cricket team? And he said, no, I'm working in school. I work as an activities director managing lots of after school clubs. And I said, we might have an app for you. We showed him something and he went, come to Malaysia. So we went to Malaysia thinking, oh, we might have something. And then you get clapped off a little mini stage and we think we've cracked it. We haven't cracked it. We were another sort of, this was in the early start of the school thing, so we needed that 2 more years to build it. So there's a lot of fate, but then we found this niche market of schools that have really big after school club programs. So in China, they have like 3,000 kids and they need to fit them into after school clubs every single day. So there's a whole market of how they get into those clubs, which sounds really dull. But sometimes we had 5,000 parents and nannies trying to log in to bring down the system all the time because they're trying to get onto their after school club. And then we built after school clubs, a parents evening system, payments, trips. It started sports, so we obviously had that, and then tuition people in. So you go through a whole range of building modules, raise more money. So yeah, it was niche, but it created this business where we just kept growing, and we started stumbling upon the idea it might be worth something.
So what was the point at which you thought we need to raise money to really invest in this? It's not just a a trial and we've got a few customers and
Well, I think we raised money all the way through. We convinced some people, it was on video, so I can't. We convinced some people to part their money at different stages. So we raised a total of about just under £500,000 over 4 or 5 times. So we're always raising money to sort of keep going and get more developers and keep building out the features without really a way of thinking how is this going to be profitable without laying off all the developers so we can actually make some money. So it's kind of that challenge as well, growing a software company, which I had a conversation with Jonathan earlier, who back in early 2000s, so back in the days we say, $7.5 million spent trying to build a software company and amount of money. So it's really hard to do that. So yeah, we then thought that we start getting partners, big partners in terms of bigger education providers. 15,000 schools, 6,000 schools, 4,000 schools, and you get these partners, and we needed their data, so that's how you partner them. And then they come, and then you realise that there might be a suitable, we might be suitable for them as an extra product. So we had a few conversations, a few cups of tea with different people, and then start to realise that they're sort of hinting that maybe there might be something, but nobody actually sort of said, right, let's do this. So it's kind of guesswork.
so that was kind of following what looked like it might be a fit from the point of view of Schools Buddy becoming part of somebody else's product suite.
Yeah, because there was lots of learning management platforms, as you know, and if anyone's got children with children, you always had homework solutions, things like that. So the learning management of it, particularly in international schools and bigger schools, they do all their learning through learning management platforms, and it's getting more common in the UK obviously. And then we were that extra bit, so we were everything non-academic.
Okay.
So that we could bolt us in with theirs, and they could basically run their school from a parent perspective and admin perspective. So that's kind of how it sort of panned out, which we did look for those opportunities of what modules we could add on that didn't exist in other systems. So yeah.
So from the point of view of the business taking shape, growing customers, looking like it's something tangible that's going to have value, how did you as a team, and tell us about the team actually, who was involved in the decision making, because to go to a decision point of like running something and it's happening and you're growing, then deciding actually we're going to sell to somebody else, there's usually a motivation for that, right? To get either to come out of it with some value, like realising the value of the effort you put in, or how did you make the decision about
Well, I think my business partner, David, when you don't pay yourself for 3 years, there is some financial difficulty. So there's some minor debts, so you have that in the back of your mind. You also, getting older, don't have a pension. You've done loads of your own business, you don't put money into a pension, you put it into your business. So you're like, well, how am I going to pay? What's my later life going to look like when I haven't got anything? So how much you can gamble pushing it to make it more valuable is kind of you going up. So we knew, I think between us, that we were happy to sell. The time was right. We were 7 years down the road of lots of good moments travelling around the world, and lots of really low moments, surviving. So I think you're ready to leave, and then it's just about is there anyone willing to buy it? And what happened in the education space was there was lots of venture capital, lots of private equity funding, buying big software providers. So then it became obvious that, hang on a minute, that money's floating around. When you get bought and you're a bigger provider, the first thing you try and do is to grow, is to buy small providers to mop up, as they call it, software recurring revenue. So recurring revenue is what your value is. As you get contracted customers, your recurring revenue builds up, and it becomes quite a safe bet that they're not going to leave. The churn isn't too high, then you look good to someone else. So we had a pretty low churn. And our recurring revenue was building nicely, and they want you to see some sort of growth, but it's not really, really slow.
So in all of this, the team was you and your business partner, David, you mentioned.
Yeah, we had 27 shareholders.
I was going to say, how many more shareholders?
We had a big cap table, which was challenging when we would come to selling. But yeah, and we had some of those shareholders were experienced businessmen that sold their business. So networking comes back to very lucky to have built a network over the years, which you don't realise when you're younger, playing golf with certain people, doing things with certain people. And it comes back 15 years later, do you want to put some money into my business? And they go, oh, I really like you. Or they really love my business partner, or whatever way around, but they then back you as a person more than your business, which I think without that, we would never have got that money, because it's a hard sell trying to raise money. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many knockbacks did you get?
Well, initially trying to raise money, quite a few. With small venture capitalists and private individuals, more than you got success, yeah. So that's part of it.
So resilience was key to keeping going with 27 in the end.
27, yeah. So yeah, that was, and some of them helped us. One was a finance director for a company that was sold for 700 million. So a bit harder than we were.
Yeah.
Our accounts are quite easy to look at from what he was used to. And then a good friend of mine is a big insurance company, so he was very good with people. So he was very good when we grew the team, to we had about 10 before we were acquired, but how you handle some of those people. So learning of people was something that we tried to do as much as possible. And I'd highly recommend getting people around you, having cups of tea with people that might be able to input in some small way, because it'll be a nugget of gold. There's one really good story, which one of our investors sold his business for tens of millions. He was in the Times Rich list. I don't know, I know these people. Luke. And I played golf with him before he invested, I think, and I still play with him now. And I asked him a question about any gold you built your business that much and sold it, any nuggets you got of advice, and there was two. He said, I got lucky. I won't tell you what business is, but he got lucky. It was a simple business, but this first one, the other one was, if you have someone, you employ someone and they're not what you want to be, get rid of them really quickly. Because they'll not upset you, they'll upset the people around you. And that's the only thing that I didn't do during COVID when I needed to do it. So I didn't take his advice on, but I should have, and that's something I did regret. So it's kind of, one nugget of gold from everyone can really help. So for yourself, get people around you that can really give you some good information.
So going from deciding to sell, there's a process, right? It doesn't just happen when you say, we found a buyer, they've given you a price that they're prepared to pay. How did you even set the price for what the transaction would be? You don't tell us what the price is, but...
they do on a multiple of your recurring revenue.
Right.
So that's what, and there's a range. And when we sold, one of our investors who didn't want to sell said, I think the multiple's like 30 times. It's not. It's about
10?
4.
4?
4, but it wasn't. I think we got more than that, but we got like 5.5 or something. But it's amazing what people perceive the multiples. So that's a good guide, and then it's about just trying to push it as far as you can, really, without upsetting anyone, and someone willing to say yes. So it was our partner that we sold to that became an advanced partner that took 9 months of paying, and then literally 2 weeks after said, why don't we buy you? So we had to start again with legal contracts and agreements and going through it, and then we had to split it over. We had to get 27 people to sign, and then we split it over 2 deals for several reasons. And right in the middle of those 2 deals was COVID, so we had 6 months of silence. So and then eventually closed. So it was about 18 months.
Stressful time.
Yeah, really stressful. But some happy moments.
Okay.
But yeah, it was very, very stressful. Yeah.
So all of that, closing the deals and getting it over the line, a deal's done. How many years were you in the business?
So this is about 7 now. Yeah, just over. From the second part of the deal, 7 years.
Okay. So all of that intensity, and then what was the kind of process after the deal be done? Did you have to stay in the business for a length of time?
Yeah, so we had to work for 3 or 5 years, which I chuckled because we were never going to stay for 5 years. I don't know how we even signed that, but so when you sell a software business, a lot of businesses, you have an earn-out period which you have to then grow the company so that you can gain more revenue, and then they'll give you some more money. But that was really stressful because they didn't do all the things they said they were going to do. So they were controlling sales and marketing. So it became a challenge. So more stress, difficult, challenging moments. Yeah. So I think my business partner was signed off for a couple of months. So yeah, it does become you have no control anymore. So you are beholden. The company was growing, they're investing money, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was pressure. They let me do what I needed to do to run the business, but it was it's not your baby anymore. So
Right.
the fun was over. We employed 10 people before we sold the business, and they were brilliant. Working for a startup, bought into that ethos and mindset. Would stay late, do whatever they needed to do, work weekends, do whatever you need to do, and then we hired after we were acquired, and they were a totally different individual. Not when it passed 5, they'd go home, and it kind of lost a little bit. It was still smallish because we had 25 people in one place, and then we started hiring in Type A, where some of the offices were, to keep costs down, and it became a bit distorted. But yeah, that startup mode was brilliant fun, and then it became slightly different because everyone's not in it. Everyone's not in it for the mode, they're in it for what the pension size is and what benefits they get when they get cycle to work scheme.
Yeah. So all of that took place, and 2022, the business was sold. Your
2019 business sold.
2019, sorry. 2022, you formally out of the door.
Yeah.
That's it. Game over for you. How does that feel, actually leaving the thing you created?
It was, the build up to leaving was amazing, and I
Okay.
was like, I can't wait to leave. And then you leave, kids went back to school, and you sat there going, what's the point of all that? In many ways it was, because
Right.
all your friends aren't off midweek, are they? So
Yeah, right.
why don't you? So
You've got to go
why don't you
find
have
music
6 months off
stuff,
so we
right?
can do stuff? Yeah. So it's kind of that. Yeah, this is. I was very lucky.
Yeah.
But without a doubt, it's not. So I think going back to if you could do the perfect sale, I think it's about when you want to do it in life. I've still got maybe 10 years in me, maybe. So kind of what do you do now?
More, hopefully.
Not to live, hopefully not. I've never lived long. But it's hustling now. But maybe working, doing something good, some energy. So I think it's about timing it. I think it's about realising that you're not going to do it again. You're never going to have that one. You're never going to get 2 strikes of luck. And then am I going to have the motivation to do it again? No. Go through all that. You'll learn a lot and do it differently, but you wouldn't probably choose to go into it again. Knowing how hard it is. Wake up at 3 AM supporting calls and customers in China and Asia, and then supporting customers in the US at 11:30 at night. So kind of, it was like an 18-hour day at the time. So you can choose that. Probably could raise more money now to not have to do it that way, but yeah. So I think it's about, don't necessarily like it. My age, I think the money gives me some financial security, which cannot be knocked at all. But there are some things that you don't get from selling your own poor baby. So.
Yeah, right. I think it's a really difficult one for creative people when you kind of you fall in love with ideas, because that's what you do as a creative, right? You fall in love with the idea, and then you spend a lot of time trying to separate yourself from the idea to realise that if it's going to grow, it probably needs to grow with other people loving it as much, if not more than you. And then when you get to the point where it might actually have some serious value, as you obviously realised quite early on in the journey that you were going to need to bring investors in. That's quite a big thing, right? To open up your thing.
I think as Shirley said before, when you start your own business, when you started last one, when you start your own business, you do it yourself, and there's maybe 1 or 2 of you, and actually have that first one can be a first member of staff or team member can be quite challenging, because it's something. Hang on a minute, I can do it myself. And then when we had 10, and that's a challenge because you're like, I've got to let go of a few things. I've got to let go of a lot now. And then we had 27 in schools, buddy, at part of a sort of 300 or 400 size company that bought us, and then you have to realise that you've now got to do KPIs and management and do all those things. You think, what's the point in that? I know what's going on, but they've got to report to their private equity people what the numbers are, how much money they're spending, how much schools buddy costs, and it's miles away from where you are. Being a photographer, the one I'm bound on, small marketing agency with my wife, miles away from to that. So it kind of, just think about what you actually want. Because I wouldn't say me and my business partner were happy at the end of it, but we're obviously happy. And then looking back on the journey, it was an incredible experience. But yeah, good and bad.
Good. So now you've taken the learnings and after all of that intensity, straight into something else.
Yeah. Well, I was approached by two young 25-year-olds, impressive lads that wanted to do esports in international schools. So I have no interest in esports. My son was on it far too often, so I was sort of like, no way, no, I'm not involved with that. And then he started talking about the educational side of it, and that it's going to happen, and how can we do it the best for the students? I think it's going to be a GCSE in esports one. I think it's being built right now. There's a
University are offering it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots happening. So I got David involved, and he's sales, and he left 9 months before me, so we was chopping it a bit for the next project.
Right, okay.
I was like 3 weeks later, so I was like, oh, shall I? And being a twitchy person that wants to get on to the next thing, I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, that was 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, in December, it's 2 years. So I'm probably stepping away, but I helped build the platform. I started managing developers again, which I vowed never to do. I vowed never to go into education. I managed developers. Sort of 4 weeks later, I was doing both. So yeah, David never got me to another trade show. So come out to a trade show. I was like, never going back. So I never stood on the stand again because I hate rejection. So people walking past, you sure you come on? You want this after school club soccer? It's really interesting. It's not, I know, but so kind of I vowed never to go to another trade show or anything like that again. So yeah, 2 years, it's going quite well. The best thing about it, obviously, when you've sold your business and it's gone quite well, and 27 shareholders, they're all like, whatever you do next, we're in. So I think they approached 19 and 18 of them said yes, so they raised like 325,000 literally overnight.
Yeah.
And the two young 25-year-olds are now trying to raise $500,000. Yeah. We've raised like 200,000 of it, but we've hit limits of our network now. Like, well, hang on, we've done a little bit, so they now realise how hard it is to raise money.
Yeah.
Whereas when someone presents 325,000 to you in 24 hours, roughly, they were like, "What's as easy, isn't it?" Yeah, it's not. So they backed us. So it's going quite well. I think we're in about 50 schools, 100 schools. I think 50 schools for our after-school program, and then we're doing competitive esports competitions across different continents, Asia, China, Middle East, and yeah. So it helps. David has good networks with our international schools, but it's not really my bag. So yeah, I'm stepping away, and the long list of stuff sums up my LinkedIn profile. No idea what it is. Catch all. So yeah, I've done some mentoring as part of this great organisation. Last month, met three of the companies and thoroughly enjoyed it and felt kind of useful for the first time in a while. So that was kind of really exciting to be able to offer some experience and commentary and advice from a mentor perspective, and something that I want to do a lot more of. So yeah, I'm a trustee of multiple sclerosis Sussex, which is someone that worked for me at MS, one of my best mates. So that was kind of giving back a little bit, and I might become a trustee of another organisation, or trying to be. So yeah, so you try and do some things. I still need to earn a bit of money, believe it or not. All my friends think, I've got sort of 30 million in the bank or something, but it isn't quite like that. When you've got 27 shareholders, you have to give quite a lot of it to other people. So yeah, it's good, but you've got a long time to live and a lot of money to spend. Mortgages and stuff. So
you've got golf to play, but
so yeah, that's where I'm at, really.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Round of applause for Any questions? Go for it.
I think we've all seen the Dragon's Den thing. How much equity are you willing to give away? That's an awful lot of people to have different deals and things going on with. I mean, did you go for like a set percentage per investor and keep it the same, or did you have like 27 different deals?
So we had different rounds of investment. So and we've learned a lot from technology's changed as well as offerings. There's like things like Seed Legals now, which is a website where you can use that to do your whole funding rounds, which all the legal documents, which used to be a complete minefield. and there's other tools out there to make it a lot easier to raise money. And not easier if you've got contacts, but like a small friends and family round, for example, was how it started. There's a tool now where you can combine people, which keeps one person on your cap table, not maybe 8. So people can put in £300 or £500.
But even then you need the proper agreements, don't you?
But you need the proper agreements, yeah. So the tools out there now are much better than when we did it in 2013. So yeah, it's like, for Diagon's a good, better example, because we knew what the valuation would be, we knew what value we could add to that. So we set a valuation of the business at the start, at the outset, and people back you and know what you exited last time. So then you feel more confident that that's a good valuation. So I get approached by a lot of investment in companies, and the first thing I ask them, what's your pre-money valuation? So how much you value your company? Had a guy the other day who wants to open a gluten-free fast food establishment. I know nothing about that, right? So I just asked him what his valuation was, and he said 1.5 million. I said, how much revenue have we got? He said, I haven't got a shop yet or anything. I said, okay, we've seen Dragon's Den, haven't we? They would have laughed at him, but oh no, that's the advice I've got, and people are willing to put some money in. So I asked him how much money he's got already. It's 100,000 out of 400,000. I'll be amazed if you get the rest, because the valuation is a lot. But I invested in a business in Brighton Worthing area called Bike Book, which is a great. It's a directory of bike mechanics in the country. I'm really excited by really dull things, obviously, sorry about that. But not excited by it, but it's a really good business with 3 really good individuals, right? And the fundamental thing for me, for them, was what their valuation was. It was sensible. They built the product, and one of the team, and they valued it at 850,000. And you think, so I know what our business was bought by, so when someone says their valuation is 3 or 4 million, you go, who's buying you? Because also, if no one's going to buy you, you're never going to get any money back. So kind of, that is, I think I advised in the mentoring sessions recently, someone could raise some money, because they had some revenue levels, and they were like, I think you can think about that. So I think it's doable, but if you've got a network to start you off, it helps a lot.
Excellent. Any other questions?
Do you think you uncover some secret source, well, not like secret source, but would you be able to replicate your business again? Or do you think that industry have changed too much over the last 10 years?
You could probably build the same product again and go and sell it, because
The contacts are there.
well, I think things change, and when software gets, it slows down, so the development slows down. So since I've left, I think they've done one software release. They've consolidated, so they've got rid of some of the developers, they've reduced the team quite a lot. And a lot of the products that we tracked that were bought, same thing happens. So the development, when there's a startup and everyone's building features get acquired, don't want to spend any money now on development, want to just obviously use the recurring revenue to make it profitable. So we grew like 3 times. We grew 20% in COVID. We bought our competitor after COVID, and they dropped 40 to 50% of their revenue. So we only grew 20% because we were acquired, and we managed to get some natural network effects. But so it kind of is. Replication is, I don't know if you can replicate exactly, but you certainly learn so many lessons that make it easier, which I think we're doing with Diamond. We don't have to learn so much. You learn on the job, learn through failing, do you? So we definitely learn a lot. We learn a lot.
Nice. Thank you.
Did you say you bought your competitor?
Yeah, when we were Schools Buddy, we bought the people that we wouldn't. So there's another thing we didn't really touch upon was, in terms of strategy, we went and had cups of tea with partners, and we used to cups of tea. I was using that cups of tea with partners, and anybody that might be useful, that might think about being a potential acquisition partner business for you. But what we never really did is we stood away from our competitors, because kind of they're the enemy, right? And you want to beat them a little bit. And we were coming up against our competitor. They were sort of started 5-6 years before us, so we were quite new to them. And they wouldn't really speak to us as much. So it was a 2-way thing. And then we ended up acquiring them as the new business, not Scoresby, but well, Scoresby acquired them, now part of the business. So yeah, kind of we were both presented with similar offers when we were acquired, and they turned it down and we took it, and kind of it was just about time with them. So this is the other thing, is when people are bought, even in your space, that they often be bought by someone else that wants to potentially mop up like businesses, so they can.
So your deal had been done when your
Our deal was
competitor-
done, yeah. It was kind of about 15 months after,
I didn't know if the knowledge. I thought it might be that the knowledge you acquired, being the other side of it, might have helped. And I think
Oh, it was
that's
an
the
absolute
other way
pain buying them, to be honest. They did loads of custom software, so every customer that came said, you don't do that. No, we don't.
No.
And it was that constant conversation, but we retained probably 80% of them, but
What happened to your team? Because you get close to people, right? Especially when, like you say, startup journey, 10 people. Those people that were there when the deal was done and helped build the business.
Yeah, I still
What happened to them?
Some are still working for
the business?
Farrier,
Okay.
They had a big cold. The CEO has left the business now. The CEO of Farrier was on video, so he got rid of quite a few of our people at one point. Had a moment to reduce down our team, which was a very sad day. And I think they literally, 12 guys overnight, no warning. So that sort of broke the heart of it, I think. But there's still, core about 8 or 10, but still there. And then they've hired around the world to fill gaps and keep the cost down. But some people put a lot into help us to get our success. So those people that you get early on, we try to look after them. And, especially it's a couple of developers that 4 or 5 years wanted to leave, and we sort of blackmailed them and cry in front of them. Just, please, you can't go now. That's it over. But they did run and got some money, so that was kind of good. But
It's another really good point, actually. Did you give shares to that core team, or just a few really important individuals who held the keys to the safe, by the sounds of it?
Well, we had one developer for the first 3 or 4 years, so he had some shares. His friend came, and he had some shares, and he left 6 weeks before we sold. His decision here. We told him what was coming, and and then the next rung of developers, I would say, the next 3 that came that were critical to getting us over the line, we gave them sort of really healthy commission, not commission, it was commission, it was a share of the revenue above the limit. So they were pretty wealthy developers relatively. And then COVID came and some of them got ridiculous offers to leave. As in, like, developers are really hard to manage through COVID, so suddenly it opened up the global workforce and they could work anywhere in the world, so good ones were getting 50% extra on their salary, and we couldn't keep them, so there were some challenges with that, but some good people.
I'm interested in this kind of dynamics of the culture a bit, because I've been in a couple of businesses. One, AOL, the internet service, when I started, it was a small group of people. I was employee number 18. When I left, we bought CompuServe, we bought Netscape, and 400 people. And the culture, you touched on it earlier, culture changes after acquisitions. Because all of a sudden you've got lots of people who could ostensibly be in the same roles, who've been acquired into this like new thing. Did that put noses out of joint in your original team, or how was that?
I don't think, we kept the hierarchy. The people that came in nobody really jumped. What we already had, we looked after them, so they were in pretty good positions, and we looked after them from financial sort of salary perspectives in terms of promoting, reporting back to the new company. These guys are really good. Try and give them this salary, and so all those things that we could do. But I think it's just different. Anybody that wants to go and work for a startup or a small business has a certain way about them that wants to. It's got some risk element to it. And when you go, do you want to come work for a company that's got 400 staff, it's got 7 sites around the world, it's not the same decision. Not that they didn't, parts members of the team, but they were definitely not like the first group. So yeah, that's a good one.
Good. Brilliant, thank you. Any other questions? If not, we'll wrap up. Okay, thank you so much. So, thank you everyone for listening to Gary's wisdom. Gary will be around, so if you do think of anything else you want to ask, please do fire away. Just wanted to remind you of our upcoming event. Sorry, it's a bit small on here, but the prompt is really for the next event. So, Bonito Lounge, the topic is about retaining customers. So, pretty important for recurring revenues. If you're going to build a model to sell a business that somebody else might want to buy, it's one way of getting a valuation. There's a whole sequence of things in all of this. So, what we've been trying to do with some of these talks is draw out some of the themes that might take your thinking to the next level, or maybe fill in a few blanks about things you've heard about it, but you've never really thought what it might mean to you. So in this one, retaining customers is kind of for a purpose, not just because you've got to get money in the business, whichever way, but it could also be that there's different ways of doing it. So the person we've got coming to talk, I don't know if anybody's met him, Adam Hutley. He runs a business based in Littlehampton, and he's part of the Let's Go Net Zero scheme. So he was introduced by one of Gail's colleagues from West Sussex, and it's very interesting. He's using sustainability and a whole sort of values-driven, ethics-driven approach to, I think it's procurement of stationery or something like that. Is that the business?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
So it's not a creative business in the sense of being a marketing agency or a film company or artists or photographers or whatever else, but the take on it is a very creative way of using a method and an approach to inspire people. And he's had some unbelievable successes, which he's going to talk to us about. So it's helped him break into really big corporate clients. So should be an interesting one.
The spoke of the Let's Go Net Zero is very interesting. It's a good one to come to and listen to.
So I'm really excited about that. It's a lunchtime slot, so there will be lots of pizzas and there will be nachos and tapas because it's Bonito Lounge. So yeah, please do put that on in your diaries. One thing I did also want to throw open was the way that we're doing communications, as to just to elicit some feedback. Is it working for everyone? Seeing things posted on Instagram or receiving emails? Is there enough?
We've got a Facebook group, and
We've got a Facebook group. We don't really know what to do with it.
Many people that come to these are in it, so please join. It's very quiet.
But it's opening up multiple channels, not knowing really where people want to spend their time. I know personally I'm not on Facebook, just can't bear seeing what happened to either kids I taught, people I went to school with, or whatever else. Don't want to know about my ex-wife's family. So it really is that territory for me. But Instagram for creatives, I think, is probably a safe bet. Yeah, okay, if you put in nods around the room. Okay, cool. There is a LinkedIn group as well, which we do post the same kind of notices in. So in theory, we're getting the word out. Okay, brilliant, thank you. Just want to flag the Thrive programme. As was mentioned, Gary's doing a wonderful job mentoring 3 businesses on the programme. It's in progress now, but we are still open for applications for January, March. In fact, we've only got 1 space left. So if you know of anybody that might be interested, the proposition's pretty straightforward. It's only an 8-hour commitment, and that is spread over 8 weeks, starts 23rd of January, ends up towards the end of March on a Thursday from 11 o'clock till 12ish, and it's kind of bookended. Would you like to join us? That would be amazing. If you want to join, QR code's here, fill in the details, and then
there might be a couple more spaces.
There might be a couple of spaces if people drop out.
Some people are a bit of a maybe, so it's possible.
It's true.
Don't think that it's gone just then.
No, it's true. And also, we are obviously talking to Arun District Council and West Sussex County Council, who are funding the programme. And obviously, if we can show that there's more demand, then we may well look to put on another version of the programme if we can find the right kind of funding model to make that work. So it's really about trying to work out whether it works for enough people in ways that hopefully so far seem so good. So yeah. If
Is that in person?
It's in person, and it basically works for an hour with a kick-off session. We bring the group together, so everybody gets to hear about each other's business challenges, kind of thing that you're foregrounding your focus on as part of your plan to grow. And that's followed by a series of alternating masterclasses, which are on 3 topics that we've had 2 already. One which was on essentially identifying your asset and really trying to work on that as either what might be able to be leveraged more from an IP perspective, or to look at business models and how you might expand upon what you're offering and really realise the value of what you're working with. And the second one was on, you probably call it the fundamentals of finance concepts. So it's threshold concepts in pedagogical terms. So stuff that you need to know in order to be able to know the next level stuff. So we've done cash flow, and we did profitability and business models of different types that are relevant to creative businesses. And that was just yesterday actually. And we've got one more coming up with that's focused on business strategy. So it's really kind of like trying to take out the jargon, but really kind of boil it down to what is business planning and what does it really look like when you actually get down to something that you can work with. And that's in a few weeks' time. And that's interspersed with 3 mentoring sessions that are with people like Gary, who you work out a time that works for you in that week in between, so that you can either pick up on the themes or set your own agenda. It's kind of over to you. But for me personally, it's been one of the most exciting and really rewarding things to do is to match people to mentors. So I've brought quite an extensive and eclectic network with me, and have taken quite a lot of care and consideration in working out who might be a good fit for who and how that's going to work. And again, so far so good, the feedback on that. And it'll close up with an evaluation session where, in fact, the counterpart to the kick-off, where there's a collective goal-setting exercise really of what do you want to achieve over the duration, how do you want to be accountable to everybody else in the room, is kind of what it's about. And then bringing everyone back together at the end to review how it got on.
And where does it happen?
This is all based at the track in Bognor Regis.
Okay.
So the platform 1 room up top is kind of big enough for the group size, so it's just 10 businesses in each cohort. And so far so good, all working out. And it's only open to businesses based in Arun. So I've got a feeling you're Chichester, right? So you need to talk to Gail in that case. Alternative offers in the other adjacent area. But that's the basic gist of it. So if you do know anybody you think might be interested, please encourage them to come along to these events and to meet the group. Sorry, Thomas.
That's all right.
Question.
Just would Gary stay as on mentoring on the next round?
What's
On the
your
spot. I'm definitely keen to.
Brilliant.
I'll join it.
Okay, so that's pretty much the end of us doing our talking, and in fact we're well inside time, that's great. So we've got an hour here to hang out, and if you wouldn't mind, if you could scan the code and just give us some feedback on the event. We're learning as we're going, and if there's anything that we can improve, please tell us what's and all. And thanks so much. And the drinks, the food, they're all here for your consumption, so please help yourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.